It's showtime!
Welcome to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge podcast, where we talk about leadership and successful entrepreneurs and veterans come and tell their story. I hope you enjoy the show. Follow me. Let's go. This podcast is brought to you by Victory Leadership Coaching, your premier leadership training and coaching provider. You can learn more at victoryleadershipcoaching.com, and you can also purchase their book, Why Organizations Should Develop Their Leaders, a pocket guide at amazon.com. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. My name is JJ Hardy, and we're here on another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge podcast. And today I have a guest he's actually in a company that I'm partnered with. He owns a company called Coefficient. It's a wonderful platform. We'll talk about it during this call. But his name is John Hibbs, and I'm going to let him introduce himself to the audience. John, thank you for coming on. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, thank you. Well, JJ, great to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I'm John Hibbs. I run a company called Coefficient. We measure the performance of organizations, but from the perspective of the people inside the organizations. It can be really powerful, the insights that we can surface. I'm going to be 50 next year. I'm a father of 2 teenagers. I live in this beautiful paradise island called Guernsey. And if you don't know where that is, you need to look it up. And I'm about a 30-second walk from the beach. So today's been a great day. The sun is shining. It's wonderful and hot. And about half an hour ago, I was in the sea. So it's lovely to come from the sea and be here with you.
Oh, man. I'm out here in farmland out in the middle of Iowa. And so, when you compare that to what you're dealing with, it's beautiful out here, but it's not the type of paradise where you can jump in and start swimming. So that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's I am very lucky to live here.
Yes. So, John, you own a company called Coefficient. Can you tell us a little bit about that company? I know you said you measure performance from a human perspective, but please tell the audience a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, it really, the kernel for this idea for this company really sort of started about 25 years ago. And I just noticed I'm looking at myself in the camera, and I'm actually wearing my JMH Fitness T-shirt. So this T-shirt is about 25 years old, and that was my very first business. And I was a personal trainer. I was living in London at the time, and I really was making a mess of it. I mean, I was young, I was overly confident. I thought I was going to have the greatest business ever, and made no money. And then, as just the universe does, from times gave me a gift of a new client, and the new client was a business coach, and I had never heard of such a thing. I was like, this is incredible. And anyway, I started training him. We got to talking, and after a little bit, he sat me down and he said, "Look, John, I like you. I think you're a nice guy. I think you're a decent personal trainer. You are rubbish at running a business. Like, if you don't let me help you, you're in big trouble." So he became my business coach. I gave him free personal training. He gave me free business coaching. He's still my coach today, 25 years later. And he taught me 2 things straight away. He said, measure what is going on in your business and use those measurements to make better decisions. I mean, it sounds so obvious, but certainly for me at the time, I was like, this is blowing my mind. And then the other thing, and I think the most important thing, is that business is all about human beings. It's about people, humans, building relationships, and that's really the most important thing. So we use those 2 principles in my personal training business, and it grew, and I was able to employ a couple of people to help out, and it just had this wonderful feeling of mid-20s, created a little business, was giving me a good wage and a nice lifestyle, and I'd done it sort of all myself. It taught me a good few lessons there about you can't really do everything by yourself. You need people to help around you and to guide you and to give you the wisdom and the knowledge that they've garnered over the years. But that really was the start of Coefficient, sort of like a 20-year journey, measuring things. Business is all about people. And if we think about the organizations and the businesses that we're all involved with, it's just a group of people. That's all they are. just a group of people trying to work together to try to benefit the lives of another group of people. They call these people their customers. But what they measure to define their success is they measure how much money they've made or how much stuff they've sold. And I mean, well, you know this all too well. And those are lag indicators. So they come right at the end of all the work you've got to do. The money doesn't just turn up magically. There's stuff you have to do beforehand. What Coefficient does is it provides a lead indicator. It from the data source that's probably the most valuable, which is the people inside the organization. And you know, they know everything. You know, they know who's cool, who's not, what's working, what isn't. If we can surface those insights and display them in a way that you can use, it becomes really powerful. So we provide the data, and then, as you know, JJ, we work with a bunch of amazing partners around the world here, you know, really experienced business coaches that then partner with us, use the data, and then act on the what do we do with this data, what do we do next, and help businesses around the world. And if we help businesses around the world, we usually make the environments better for their staff, and happier staff, better for businesses. We know this, but happy staff also go home to their families every day. Happy staff create happy families create happy communities. Communities is where you and I live. So, you know, that's it.
Well, you know, I love the way you framed that, because, you know, a business is nothing more than a group of people that do a service or release a product that benefits an audience. It's great. But, you know, I look at it and I frame it similarly, and I tell people during my training and a lot of the coaching that I do that a business is nothing more than a group of people who are coming together to do a job. And that's what that product creation is, or that service is. And when you think about it that way, the reason that I love Coefficient is because you're finding out about what those people think about their own environment and you know, the trends and all of that other stuff. It's probably some of the most important data that people receive, because they don't have enough conversations with their people, or their people don't trust them enough to have those conversations, whatever the case may be. You know, we figure out the nitty gritty stuff without putting a name to the face, and just address it as if it was a regular stat that their business was measuring. And it's just a wonderful way to do it. I love Coefficient.
Yeah, thank you. You pretty much summed it up there. And the we're not saying for one moment stop measuring outcomes. In many cases you have to, and they are obviously important. But remember that there's always a flow to businesses, and you know, it doesn't start with the outcomes. It starts with the people at the other end. And if you can get that bit right, or not right, but if you can work to improve that over time, and you know, we're not talking about perfect, we're talking about let's make an improvement, year on year improvement. And if you can measure yourself against yourself and you're getting better, you know, you can't ask for much more than that.
That's right. And when you look at it as an improvement annually, look, as a manager or a business owner who's providing this data to the company, you really, all you have to do is 1% or even less than 1% every day. And just, I mean, you can do math. I mean, you're not going to get 365% better over a year, but you might. I mean, but you know, if you're intentional about it and you understand the problem, and then you actually take strategic action to address it, you just never know where that's going to go. So
no, that's spot on. And I love that 1% idea as well. You know, operations, sales, marketing, leadership, you know, HR, looking after the mental health of your staff, improve all those things by 1%. You know, you've got a 5-10% improvement in business straight away. And a lot of the time, these things are easy to do. You know, it's not rocket science. But where we really help is and you know this, is showing companies, look, where you're doing really well, let's celebrate those things. Where are your growth opportunities? Where are the areas where you could improve and get the greatest bang for your buck? So that's what we do at Coefficient.
Yep, I love it. And again, I love your company, John. But you know, you wanted to share something with the audience today, and you know, it's kind of the topic of what we decided to chat about in the podcast. would you like to, and I'll put, and I know I have your one slide here.
Yeah, you've got my one slide here. So let's get the one slide up and I'll talk you through it. Because this is, so this is my Monergy Flow, and it's a business model. I've always loved models. I love visuals. We often forget that the world of business is hugely complex. Lots and lots of moving parts. And just by sort of like mapping it out and using a model or a framework or something, just helps me certainly understand it from a high level. So this is my Monergy Flow. I believe that money and energy are very closely linked. Like the more you have of one, the more you have of the other oftentimes. And it's subtitled, How to Make More Money, How to Surround Yourself with People You Love, and Make the World a Better Place. Because I think that's fundamentally what business is all about. The limited liability company is one of the greatest inventions there's ever been. It's allowed us to really create the world that we live in. Without it, we wouldn't be here today. Certainly, talking over. I was going to say Zoom, but this isn't Zoom, is it? And talking over the internet. And so let's just go through the Monergy Flow and how it works. So it's simple, but there's quite a lot going on here. So we've got dollars there on the left-hand side, and money. We all want to make money. Of course we do. It's right that businesses make money. It's where all the wealth is generated and all the money is generated from business. So businesses should try to make as much money as is ethically possible, in my mind. But money doesn't just turn up. And anyone who's run a business will know that. You can sit there and pray as much as you want for the money to come. It's not going to happen. So you have to sell something to somebody. That's the S. We used to think that it was products and services. But actually, if you think about today, what we're buying and selling are experiences, I think, so much more. You and I now, at this moment, JJ, we're sat in front of our computers, products. But it's this experience of talking to each other and connecting that's really the thing that we're enjoying. The products allow us to do that. But you can't sell something to someone unless they know you exist in the products there, and that's that's marketing. Now, I was speaking to a bunch of 11-year-olds about the Monergy Flow once, and I thought they want to know what marketing means. I'd better just gen up and have the sort of the correct definition. So I asked the class, I said, does anyone know what marketing means? And this one little girl shot her hand up, and she said, yeah, I know what marketing is. Marketing is being able to say, hello, here I am. And I loved that, because most people think marketing is about, hello, I'm John, this is what I've got to sell. And that's kind of okay, but in that world, you end up with transactional relationships. And transactional relationships are only so good. The moment that someone finds better or cheaper product, they're switching, because there's no bond there. But if you think about the best relationships that you have in your life, they're not transactional. They're based on shared values or experiences or love, or it's more than just I give you something, I get something in return. So for me, marketing is standing up on the street saying, hello, here I am. This is me, genuine, authentic, warts and all, what I believe in, what my principles are, what my mission is for the world. And if you like the sound of that, come over and have a chat. If you like the sound of that, no problem, off you go. Just keep walking, that's fine. And what ends up there is you end up with ambassadors around you. You surround yourself with people you love, rather than terrorists. And we know that most businesses succeed because of the quality and the standard of their customers. If you end up with bad customers, terrorists, it's a nightmare for you. If you end up with good customers, ambassadors, it's amazing for you. So marketing is about who you are as a person, as a business. But to stand on the street and be able to say, here I am, and know who you are, you need to have a brand, and that's what the B stands for. Now, we think, look, businesses have brands, we know that, we understand that. But I don't think that businesses really exist in the same way that you and I exist. So, there's lots of things in this world that do exist. You, me, trees, the sea, rocks, etc., etc. Businesses, the limited liability company, or whatever we want to call it, they are a human creation. Somebody in the past imagined that, wrote some special words on a piece of paper, put it legally stamped, and voila, this thing called a business exists that can do similar things that humans can do. So they can employ people and enter into contracts and buy property, etc., etc. But when you peel away the pieces of any business, they don't exist. So if we take a company like Ford, for example, well, can you point to Ford? You can't touch Ford. You can't, in the same way that I can, I could give you a high five or give you a hug and you really exist, but I can't do that to Ford. They've got products, which is, hunks of metal or whatever. They've got money in the bank. They've got buildings, which, bricks and mortar. But if at the heart of it, they don't really exist. So how can something that doesn't exist have a personality and values and a brand? And of course, the secret is that they can't. And it's the humans inside the businesses that have these things. So that shows the flow. If you want money, you've got to start thinking about the flow and where that money comes from. And it starts with humans around a shared purpose. So if you've got a really great group of humans who are all pulling in the same direction, believing the same mission, purpose, values, then you've got a very clear brand for your company. A clear brand allows you to stand on the street or on your website or your advertising or whatever and be really clear about who you are. Then the people who are seeing that go, hey, I like the sound of that. I might not be ready to buy today, but I might be in the future, and I certainly know a few people who will be. I'm going to be talking about you to them. And then you can sell more product, more services, more experience to people who like you and are willing to pay for your experiences. And that's how you make your money. And now I think the moment that you make $1 more than you need, you should be reinvesting that back into your humans. N stands for nurture. It's really important to nurture each other and look after each other. C stands for connection. So how can we create meaningful connections for people around purpose, around a secure future? Maybe, is that financial future, whatever, around meaningful work, around interacting with other humans. And of course, love. We're built to love, to give love and to receive love. It's really important. And then guess what? You end up with even better humans. Better humans leads to better brand, better marketing, sell even more stuff to even more people, and spiral up we go. And of course, the added benefits to a model like this is you end up with happy humans. And happy humans create happy families. Happy families create happy communities. And when we start viewing the world through this lens, it starts to highlight that actually thinking like this is like the largest wealth creation opportunity, not just for businesses, but for our communities and our societies as well. And the two are super, super linked. They're not like business isn't something special over here that you have to think about completely different to communities. It's the same people walking in and out and between them the whole time.
This is great. I looked at this and, we didn't really talk too much about it before you decided to say this is what we should talk about on the podcast. And I'm glad, because when I hear you talk about it, it's like this is how you create a community ecosystem that is healthy and it's not full of a bunch of backstabbers or anything like that. It's full of a bunch of servant leaders that just want to go out there and be the best person they can for each other. And if each of those people have a service or a product to trade, or even if they don't, if they're just trying to be a great servant to the community, then everybody will be healthier and happier. And this is actually really cool.
Yeah. And so this is a principle that sits behind Coefficient. And it's working. Like Coefficient is 2 years old. We were 2 years old last week. And but you've been to our masterclasses. You've met the other partners. And
yes,
they're just a really lovely group of people, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Without exception, because when I'm doing my M bit, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about what we believe in and what we hope to achieve and how it's super connected. And anyone who doesn't, he thinks, well, that's a bit weird for me, John. I'm not into that. No problem. It's fine. You're a different person to me. That's fine. You go off and do whatever you need to do. You do you. And the people who like what I'm talking about say, yeah, well, I want to come along and hear more about this and join in. And so that's how you surround yourself with people you love.
And you've created a great community of partners. I agree. All of those people are quality. I've met most of them, and just I haven't had one conversation that I walked away from and said, you know what, I am a worse person because I had a conversation with you. I always walked away saying, my gosh, if I could just partner with that person or do a project with that person, wouldn't that be wonderful? They're just, how in the heck did John find these people?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, actually. It's, I don't know. You just got to follow the principles of the Monergy Flow. You got to be authentic about who you are. Everyone who joins a partnership, we vet, and that sounds like you've got criteria to meet. There's not a form you have to fill out or anything like that, but we meet them all, and you can tell whether people are thinking about life in the same way that you are. And we hear stories of bad businesses all the time, don't we? They feature in the news and et cetera, et cetera. We've all had our own life experiences of working for a bad boss or working for a company that doesn't really love us and like us. But the more people I've met and the wider my reach has become, the more I realize there are many hundreds, thousands, millions of good people out there who, yes, want to make some money. They're not greedy, but they want to make some money. They want to do good work with good people. They want to make a difference in the world. And every single business, I don't care what you do or sell, you are improving the lives for your customers in some small way. Otherwise, they wouldn't buy your stuff.
Yes.
So there's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good work.
Well, and what's interesting about what you're doing here is that after I retired from the military, of course, there's good, bad, and ugly in every business. The military is nothing more than a business. But even after I got out, I left that environment where people want to focus on professional development and all that stuff. And that was a very hard pill for me to swallow. But when I noticed that there were systematic issues in the businesses that I went and worked for, after I retired, before I started my own business, I never had a conversation with somebody that just said, I hate these people that are working for me. Never had that conversation. They were always just trying to do their best and drive productivity because that was what they were told is their job. And at the end of the day, it really is a manager's job to drive productivity. If you do it correctly, it's not that difficult. But that's usually the common thread. And so bringing the coefficient process into a business just shows people, hey, this person commented here that they noticed that there's unfair treatment because of A, B, C, and D, or this person checked the box and said, or this many people checked the box that said they didn't feel safe in the work environment. And when you bring that up, the one person that I did the survey with your company so far, he was almost crushed. Every single conversation I've had with this guy, he said that, I couldn't possibly think of a way that somebody wouldn't believe that this is a safe place. I really have to do something about this. And that's probably the common theme. And so to get that human perspective and throw that into an improvement plan, it's the most valuable thing that I think people could ever do. And, I've raised a few eyebrows even since then. Nobody pushed the button, but I feel like the more people that know about the type of environment that you and me and all of your other partners are trying to create in these organizations, once more people push the go button and there's a bigger reputation for it, you know, this one and many other companies that have, I wouldn't say similar, but they focus on personality and try to provide information to get people in the best jobs, or they provide assessments for the environment, they will become more prominent. And I like yours because it doesn't label a specific person. I cannot stand putting labels on a specific person. And I'm not going to put any of these other ones on blast, but that's why I don't do assessments on specific people when I do business with organizations. But what a great thing. And you're really building that ecosystem. And as you get hundreds of partners, I think that the tool in itself is going to help everybody create that Monergy flow. And maybe you'll be in every state in the country.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? The client, and I know who you're talking about, obviously, is it's wonderful to hear that, and that's not an uncommon story. Often, as leaders in a business, people stop talking to you. People stop telling you the truth, and I've experienced this myself, where I thought one thing, and actually, the truth comes out that actually I was completely wrong on how people were thinking and feeling. And as a leader, you don't want to get caught off guard. You want to kind of know what's going on and get a sense of things. And so another a case study that we ran actually here in Guernsey was very similar to the story that you've got. The owner leader was completely shocked because actually his scores were like way up here and all the staff scores were down here. Was sort of totally, had the wind sort of taken out of his sails somewhat. But to his credit, said, right, well, I know exactly what I need to work on now because my staff have told me it's this, this, and this, and they worked on it. And guess what? A year later, his staff had joined him up where he was thinking about the business. And so not only is the environment in the office better, everyone was more aligned, he reported to me that his revenue had gone up by 20% as well in that same 12-month period. Now, I'm not arrogant enough that was all down to coefficient, but it's sure is a good story.
Well, when you start acknowledging the fact that these people probably are not communicating everything to you, when you acknowledge that and you want to address it, then that means you engage these people more often, and then you encourage your downtrace managers to engage with people more often. And the more that people are engaged with one another, we're naturally gregarious creatures, whether we like to admit it sometimes. I've heard people say I'm equal opportunity, I hate everybody, but that's not actually true. People do want to be engaged with, and it might be annoying for them at first, but once you get used to it, the reason that they don't like the human interaction is because they're not used to having a bunch of human interaction. And it's actually uplifting, and it makes people feel good to know that other people are thinking about them and care about them. And of course, that will drive better numbers in your business, because if people are coming to work every day with a smile on their face, as opposed to coming to work every day saying, well, darn it, they're going to have me do all this stuff I hate again. Well, then they're going to have just the attitude change is enough to drive better numbers and productivity.
Life is great fun, isn't it? I mean, it really is great fun, and it's great fun because we're all so different, and everything is different and changing all the time. And if I had one wish for the future, I suppose it would be that even if we had 5% of the people who are kind of like in the wrong job at the moment because, I don't know, they fell into it or they just needed the money or something. But if they had the courage to go, you know what, this isn't a good fit for me. There's another job over here, which is probably better. And we got 5% of the population working in jobs that suited them better. I mean, the productivity uplift alone there would be in the billions and billions of dollars. And of course, that's better for everybody.
Yes.
So,
yes.
That would be a wonderful thing to see. And if we can help in some small way, I'm open.
I completely agree. That's the reason why I do what I do as well. I mean, I believe that since we spend 90% of our time at work, we should at least make it a better experience. That's why I personally enjoy working with those first line managers, because as you get older, you're less likely to want to change your habits when you've been doing something and then moving up through the ranks. But when you're brand new to the position, gosh, it's almost like teaching somebody to shoot the rifle for the first time. If they've been shooting it for years, they're going to be like, what is this idiot going to tell me about shooting a rifle? But if it's the first time you've done it, they're going to be like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's going to teach me the right way. And they're going to take that, and it's probably going to mold the way all their future interactions will go. But we don't have to go into my business. But John, we're right about the 30-minute mark. I know you just shared a really good message, but is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we conclude the podcast?
I don't think so, JJ. You've done a very good job of extracting all of my wisdom in 30 minutes. So well done. I've got nothing left to give.
Other than to say, look, it's
well, other than say, we've been working together for a year or so. It's been good fun. I've really enjoyed it. And, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. It's been great to be here.
By the way, I could not extract a 10% of John's wisdom in 30 minutes. I guarantee that for a fact. Maybe a couple of his great values, which he's shared with us so far. So, John, thank you for being a guest on my show. Feel free to stick around after this if you want to chat for a couple of minutes. Thank you, everybody, for watching now and in the future. As you see this on all of my platforms, if this type of content resonates with you, please like my content, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're on there. But the most important thing, or you can reshare it. That's another thing, share it with your audience if you like it. But the most important thing is to comment below and keep the conversation going, because making a better environment for everybody is really what the goal is. And we want more people to understand how other people feel about it. So let's keep this conversation going. And thank you again for watching this episode. We'll see you next time. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you enjoy these episodes, tune in and watch every week. I air a new episode every Wednesday. And if this information resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to my podcast. If you see it on my YouTube channel, subscribe to it there. But please make sure that you're raising awareness for leadership, because all problems can be solved with great leadership. On that note, I have leadership training for new managers. People promote their great employees to supervisors and managers without providing them with extra training. Don't do that to your people. Reach out to me if you want to hear more about that training. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.